Hey everyone, Theo here. Today I'm comparing the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra Android tablet to the Huion Kamvas Studio 16 Windows tablet from the perspective of a visual content creator, someone who does graphic design, and as someone who also draws. By the way, I have already reviewed these two tablets in great detail. If you have not watched those reviews, the links to them are in the video description below. So straight up, I'm going to give you the bottom line. Generally speaking, my recommendation is to choose the device based on the software you want to use. So for me, as a graphic designer who works with print, I need to use software that can support CMYK. And because of that, I will have to go with the Huion Kamvas Studio because most of the graphic design apps and the drawing apps on Windows support CMYK. The other thing about Windows is this will also support the color calibration software and the color calibrator that I use. So I need that because I usually use dual displays. I need the colors on this tablet to match my external monitor. For the Android tablet, there is no color calibration, and graphic design apps that can handle vector, typography, and layout is extremely limited. So for drawing purposes, I think this Android tablet is fantastic because there are so many wonderful drawing apps. But for drawing and graphic design, Windows OS is just more versatile. If you already have a computer, then it's probably not necessary to buy another computer because this is significantly more expensive compared to the Android tablet. The thing is, if you want to draw with your computer, you will still need to connect a pen display or a pen tablet. You can't connect this to your computer and draw on this because the artwork that you create on this will still be inside this tablet. So to transfer the artwork to your computer, you actually have to transfer it. But with this Windows tablet, when you draw on this, your art is already inside your computer. So ultimately, which one to choose really comes down to the type of work that you do and your workflow. And now on to the full review. Let's talk about pricing. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra has been out for more than a year now, so you can find the base model with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage at just US $1,000. If you want to increase the RAM from 8 gigs to 12 gigs and the internal storage from 128 gigs to 256 gigs, that's obviously going to be more expensive, but it's still significantly more affordable compared to the Huion Kamvas Studio 16, which is priced at US $1,699. And this Android tablet actually comes with an SD card slot, so you can expand or add even more storage later on. This Huion tablet comes with 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of internal storage, and those two are not user upgradable. For the processor, both processors in the tablets are more than powerful enough to run drawing and graphic design software without any lag. So the price difference is several hundreds of dollars. The main selling point for the Huion tablet is it runs Windows, which is more versatile compared to Android OS. Because if you don't need Windows, you can just go with the Samsung tablet, which is more affordable. And now let's talk about design. This Samsung tablet comes with a 14.6-inch Super AMOLED display and the aspect ratio is 16:10. The Huion tablet comes with a 15.8-inch IPS LCD display and the aspect ratio is 16:9. From the view earlier, the size difference is not obvious, so let me have the Samsung tablet on top of the Huion tablet. You can see the height of the Samsung tablet is kind of similar to the Huion tablet, but the Huion tablet with the 16:9 aspect ratio is wider. The size difference between 14.6-inch versus 15.8-inch is not significant. So even with an app like Clip Studio Paint open, you can still fit 2 columns of palettes by the side and still get plenty of canvas space to work with for drawing. So both displays are definitely big enough for comfortable drawing sessions. The Samsung tablet definitely has a better looking design. The bezels are thinner and uniform on all four sides. Corners are rounded off. It's quite thin at just 5.5 millimeter, and there are 4 speakers on the 2 sides. On the back here, you can store the pen magnetically, and the weight is 728 grams. So this is compact, and this is lightweight for a 14.6-inch tablet. And even when you have it on the Samsung keyboard case, this is still quite thin, even when you just close everything up like this. This is very easy and very convenient to bring around. The Huion Kamvas Studio 16 is a good looking tablet. I like the clean and simple design. There are rounded corners as well. The bezels are much thicker, but it's not a big deal for me. The strange thing about the front is this front camera is off-centered from the middle for some reason. This is 11.9 millimeter, which is more than 2 times thicker compared to the Samsung tablet. And on this side, we can see 2 USB 3.2 Type-C ports with video output capability. On the Samsung tablet, you only get one USB 3.2, also with video output. And there are some grills here at the back for the internal fan, although I'm not sure if this is for the air intake or the exhaust. On this side, I just want to show you the 3.5mm audio jack because the Samsung tablet does not have this. Fan noise is not audible when you're just doing graphic design work or drawing. You may hear fan noise when you're exporting photos or videos for extended periods of time. So we have a kickstand on the back, and this is quite convenient. You can push the tablet down like this, and this can actually provide you with a nice angle for drawing. For drawing purposes, I still prefer to use my tablets on a proper stand, so I use both the Huion and the Samsung tablet on this stand, which allows me to adjust the angle very easily. This is the Pablo PR100 stand, and it's very stable. There are only 2 side-facing speakers on the Huion tablet, and the audio quality is maybe 3 or 3.5 out of 5 stars compared to the Samsung, which I would give it probably 4.5 or 5 for tablet speakers. If you want to bring this around, you will need to get a laptop carrying case or a sleeve, and preferably one with pockets so that you can store the keyboard or mouse or a cable if you need to. But with the Samsung tablet, you can just use this keyboard case to bring this around. And even with the keyboard case, this is still lighter and more compact and easier to bring around compared to this tablet, which is heavy. You will have to find a place to store the pen as well when you bring the Huion tablet around, because this pen does not attach magnetically to the side of the Huion tablet. Or you can just put the pen in the carrying case that's included with the purchase of the Huion tablet. Let's talk about accessories. I don't think there are many accessories made for the Samsung Tab S8 Ultra or the Tab S8 series of tablets compared to the iPads. So the most popular one is probably this keyboard case, and you can detach this and use it as a stand. And this keyboard case is only worth the money if you can get it purchased as a bundle together with the tablet. If you're buying this as a standalone, it's just way too expensive. But this keyboard case is very convenient because it allows you to bring the tablet around very easily. And there is this flap that protects the pen on the back. Oh, there is a fingerprint sensor here, and it works quite effectively. The fingerprint sensor on the Huion tablet is here, together with the power button at the top right. The other popular accessory for the Samsung tablet is probably a magnetic stand. So this one is made for the Tab S8 Ultra. There are also smaller ones for other smaller Samsung tablets. And this one is from Lululook. And the quality for this is fantastic. For the Huion tablet, currently I have it on a rotating tablet stand. This one is made by Banks, but you can actually find a similar model that is cheaper from Lululook. One thing I like about this is not that you can rotate, but you can place the tablet. You can place any tablet on this stand and you can rotate your tablet like this very easily. So if you want to, you can actually use the Samsung tablet on this tablet stand as well. And I find that I use the Huion tablet in vertical orientation quite often when I am writing. So this stand is very convenient. I would say it's probably a must buy because it can turn your tablet into this monitor-like setup. Since this is running on Windows, it can support more accessories. And I am not referring to input devices like Bluetooth keyboards, mouse, or touchpads that you can already use with the Android tablets. I'm referring to devices such as servers, NAS, color calibrator, or maybe a dock that you can connect to the USB-C port so that you can output video to 2, 3, 4 external displays. Windows has proper external display support, so with extended desktop mode, you can move your window from one display to the other. You can have mirror mode as well, and if you want to, you can turn off the display here and use this as a drawing tablet, so you can look at what you're drawing here while you're actually drawing here. And this is a portable display, so this is actually draining the power from the Huion tablet. But there are two ports here, so I can connect additional power to the Huion tablet to power this, to charge this while it's being used with the external display. If you use a high-resolution external display, you can use Windows OS to adjust the UI scaling so that the size for the UI will look comfortable for your eyes. With Android OS or with the Samsung tablet, UI scaling option is kind of limited. External display support with the Samsung tablet comes from Samsung DeX. So this will actually give you two separate workspaces which are not really connected. So if I open the folder here, I cannot drag this folder from the external display to the Samsung tablet. I can move my mouse over, yes, but I cannot drag the folder over. If I open the same app here, it will tell me to restart that app so that that app can open here. And there is only one port here, so again, the external display is draining power from the Samsung tablet. So in this case, I have to connect additional power to the display. And this display will charge the tablet. So if you want to use an external display, make sure that external display can charge the tablet. It is possible to draw on the Samsung tablet while you are looking at the external display. And this supports tilt and pressure sensitivity as well. In this case, it doesn't make sense to use the external display like this for drawing because these two are kind of similar in size, so you can just draw on the Samsung tablet without having to do this. But if you connect a much larger external display, then this setup will allow you to draw on that much larger external display. Let's talk about display quality. The Samsung Tab S8 Ultra uses a Super AMOLED display and the colors look more vibrant compared to the Huion tablet, and the contrast ratio here is also higher. That's just the way it is with OLED versus IPS LCD. And with this resolution on a 14.6-inch display, pixelation is not noticeable. The main limitation with this display for me, for graphic design or for drawing, is this display cannot be color calibrated because there is no driver or software or app for the color calibrator. So if you take a look at this illustration, you can see the colors are vibrant, but if you print it out, the colors will be more muted, and the colors that I see here will not match the printed output. Most of the graphic design apps and drawing apps use the sRGB mode, and even if you convert sRGB to CMYK and view the CMYK file or art on this display, the CMYK look will not match the print because this is not color calibrated. If color accuracy is important to you, you will have to check your art on an external display that is color accurate. You see, for my illustrations, if I create them with CMYK, I will prefer the lines to be 100K. But if I'm drawing with sRGB, I cannot get the lines to be 100K. And if I use text, black text, the black text has to be 100K because sometimes when you send the file with like typography, text layout, if the text is not 100% K, some of the printers may reject your file. But that's not too much of an issue with drawing, even with 4C lines, but for text, some printers can be quite picky. This display is laminated, so when you're drawing, there is no gap between the pen tip and the line beneath. And the cursor is always directly beneath the pen tip, regardless of how you hold the pen. So cursor tracking is quite accurate. And cursor tracking is accurate even to the extreme edge. And now let's talk about the display on the Huion Kamvas Studio 16. So this is a 15.8-inch IPS LCD. Resolution is 2560 by 1440. I wish the aspect ratio can be 16 by 10 instead of 16 by 9, but this aspect ratio is still very usable when the display is big enough. The colors look good, but the colors are not as vibrant compared to what you can see on the OLED display. But the main thing here is I can color calibrate this display. And because I can color calibrate this display, I can use this display to check my artwork against a printed proof. I can also color calibrate this display together with an external monitor so that the colors can match on both displays, and that is very critical for my work. So I measure color support for 100% sRGB and 100% O2B RGB with this display, so color accuracy is definitely right up there. The maximum brightness I measured was around 280 nits, which is lower compared to the advertised 400 nits that you can find on the Samsung tablet. And the Samsung tablet also supports HDR, and this does not support HDR, which doesn't really matter to me. A good LCD display can still look fantastic. Another main reason why I prefer LCD displays is with OLED displays, most of them are glossy and reflective. For drawing purposes, I prefer a display that is matte textured so that I can get that tactile drawing experience. And with LCD displays, you can find them with glossy reflective surfaces, or you can find them with matte textured surfaces, such as the one that you see here on the Huion tablet. One downside to the matte textured surface is it can introduce some grain or the sparkle effect to affect the image quality. But on this Huion tablet, it's not so much of an issue. All the visuals still look sharp, vibrant enough to me. This display is also laminated just like the Samsung display, so there is almost no gap between the pen tip and the line beneath. So right now I'm holding the pen vertically and I can see the cursor is directly beneath the pen tip. And when I tilt the pen at this very low angle, the cursor is still directly beneath the pen tip. So cursor tracking is quite accurate. And cursor tracking is quite accurate right up to the extreme left and right edges, regardless of whether you are left or right-handed. So the main differences between the two displays for me are the Huion display can be color calibrated, and there's this matte textured surface which is nicer to draw on. By the way, I don't mind drawing on glossy displays as well. In fact, the Samsung S Pen has this rubberized tip, and when you're drawing on the display, there is this additional friction or resistance. So it's not slippery, and the drawing experience is pretty good. even on a glossy display. Nowadays, I don't use a matte textured screen protector on glossy display, so I'm fine with drawing on either glossy or matte textured surfaces. Let's look at the pens. So this is the Samsung S Pen, and this is the Huion PW550S. The build quality for both pens is good. They are solid, they have a good weight to them, and they feel comfortable to hold for long drawing sessions. The Samsung S Pen only has one side button here, and the functionality will vary depending on which app you use. For the Huion pen, usually one button is for the right click, and the other button you can set it to whatever shortcut you want with the Huion driver. There is actually a battery inside the Samsung S Pen, but the battery is for Bluetooth features. The battery is not needed for drawing. The default pen nib from Samsung comes with a rubberized tip, and the pen nibs can be purchased with either the rubberized tip or the plastic tip. The Samsung S Pen supports tilt, pressure, and palm rejection, and this app that I'm using now is Infinite Painter, and tilt works great. So I can get the thin lines to the extra broad lines by tilting the S Pen. You can see the line break here. That's due to the design of the pen. If you tilt the pen too low, it's actually the plastic part that is touching the display. It's not the pen nib that's touching the display. So you will have to tilt it up slightly, which is why sometimes I prefer to draw with the Norris digital pen, because you can tilt this pen much lower and the plastic part will not touch the display. Palm rejection is flawless and perfect. So if I use my finger on the canvas, you can see I am not able to introduce any stray lines, and with this app, it will just move the canvas around. If I place my palm on the display while I am drawing, the canvas will not move at all, so palm rejection is great. I'm not sure how many levels of pressure is supported by the Samsung S Pen, but I can say with confidence that pressure sensitivity is fantastic. The pen has low initial activation force, which means you can draw thin lines very easily, and this pen can detect minor changes to pressure when you're drawing with very light or minimal pressure. So that's the mark of a pen with fantastic pressure sensitivity support. Lines are able to taper smoothly and sharply. No issues with the dots. Let's draw some slow diagonal lines. This looks straight enough to me. Let's draw another line. Yep, so there is very minimal to no noticeable diagonal line wobble or jitter. This is the Huion PW550S. There is actually a variation of this pen with thicker diameter and rubber grip. This is the slim version with the matte textured plastic grip. The pen nib is firm and has minimal movement, and you can get plastic nibs as well as felt nibs for this. The Huion pen supports tilt, slightly over 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity and palm rejection. Let's take a look at tilt first. So this is a pencil brush, and if I press down hard, I can get the darker lines. If I tilt the pencil, I can get the broader stroke. So I can get tilt and pressure to work together at the same time, and this applies to the Samsung S Pen as well. The cursor will also follow the direction of the pen, and this applies to the Samsung S Pen as well with the same app. My problem with palm rejection on Windows is sometimes when my palm is near the right side and I have a movement that is like this, it would swipe in that Windows notification box. It happens rarely, but it can happen. And also sometimes when I'm drawing, my palm is near the bottom. Sometimes my palm would accidentally activate some of the buttons here on the taskbar. With Windows 10, I would usually move the taskbar to the top, so there is no way for me to accidentally tap or activate those buttons. But with Windows 11, this taskbar has to be at the bottom. Palm rejection within the drawing app is going to be flawless, so my only issue is with palm rejection with Windows OS. So you can see if I use my finger or have my palm here, my palm does not move the canvas and my finger will not introduce straight strokes. Let's look at the drawing performance of the pen. The initial activation force of this pen is low, it's minimal. So this allows you to draw thin lines easily after drawing thick lines. Lines are able to taper quite smoothly and sharply, naturally. Dots work fine. Let's do the diagonal line test again. So this looks very straight with minimal to no noticeable wobble or jitter. Let's draw another line. Same. So the pen performance of the Samsung S Pen is actually very comparable to the Huion pen. So what really is the difference? Now with the Samsung S Pen, I believe the pressure curve is like this. So if you apply minimal pressure, you can get very thin lines and you will have to press down harder to get those thick lines. With the Huion driver, I have tweaked the pressure curve to mimic the performance on the Samsung tablet. So now I can draw thin lines easily and I will have to press down much harder to get the broader lines, just like on the Samsung tablet. But if you want to draw thicker lines by applying the same pressure, you can go into the driver and choose one of these pressure curves, or you can drag the pressure curve control points around to adjust the curve however you like. So let's just choose this one. Okay, so now when I draw with the same amount of pressure, you can see I can get thicker lines straight away, which may or may not be what I want, but you have the option to customize the pressure curve. But on the Samsung tablet, whether you can customize the pressure curve will depend on the app you use. So with this app, Medibank Paint Pro, you cannot customize the pressure, but with Clip Studio Paint, you can customize the pressure. And now let's look at the visual content creation apps such as the drawing and graphic design apps that are available on Android versus Windows OS. So when it comes to Android OS, there is definitely no shortage of fantastic drawing apps. Clip Studio Paint on Android is the full version. It's the same version that you get on desktop, so this is one of the best illustration or drawing apps, but this is a monthly subscription app. There is also Krita, Medibank Paint Pro, Infinite Painter is pretty good as well. Personally, I like to use Concepts. There is also Artflow, Sketches, High Paint, and Sketchbook Pro. The downside of Android OS when it comes to visual content creation comes down to the availability or the lack of availability of graphic design apps that can handle vector, typography, and layout. And I'm talking about apps such as Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer. On Windows, there are more full-featured drawing and graphic design apps. Additionally, you can install apps such as Steam to install and play games. You can install OBS to live stream on social media platforms. You can install color calibration software. You can install so many different types of software that requires Windows OS. One nice thing about drawing apps on Android is most of them have good support for finger gesture shortcuts. Whereas on Windows, the finger gesture shortcuts are quite limited. For example, with Medibank Paint Pro, I cannot use 2 fingers to undo, and this is a very common shortcut to undo. On Clip Studio, I can use 2 fingers to undo, and sometimes you have to go into the menu or the settings to enable those shortcuts. And to find out what all those shortcuts are, you really have to dig into the menu or the settings. But most of the time, I would say the shortcuts that are supported with drawing apps on Windows are just the usual zoom in and out, pan and rotate. Most apps do not support additional shortcuts other than those 3 basic shortcuts. Concepts support more shortcuts. For example, I can use 2 fingers to undo. I can use 3 fingers to call up the color palette. I can use 4 fingers to call out the layers palette. And that's pretty much it. If you use Android apps, there are definitely more finger gesture shortcuts. Even for drawing apps that are designed for Windows tablets, and I'm referring to apps that have minimal user interface elements, many of those apps have very limited finger gesture shortcut support as well, such as Sketchable, which has been on Windows OS for the longest time, but I can't do this. I mean, the zoom, pan, rotate shortcuts still work, but that's about it. I don't think you can find a drawing app on Windows and Android OS that support as many finger gesture shortcuts as Procreate on the iPad. So there is definitely a lot of room for improvement for those drawing apps on Android and Windows. The last thing I want to talk about is battery life. With the Huion Kamvas Studio 16, I was able to get around 6 hours of battery life, but that will of course depend on what you're doing with the computer and how high or low is the brightness. With the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra, battery life used to be around 8 to 10 hours, but I have been using this for more than a year now, so battery capacity will actually drop with time and usage. So the battery life for this is now around 7 to maybe 9 hours. I have been using the Huion tablet mostly at home, and I've got to say that with a built-in battery, it's incredibly convenient to be able to move this tablet from this table to my other table, or work with this tablet at some other locations in the apartment. So this is definitely more convenient compared to those Huion pen displays that you have to connect with cable to the computer. Since I'm using the Huion tablet mostly at home, I don't have an issue with the 6-hour battery life. What I find strange about this product is for a tablet that is 1.7 kg, the battery capacity is on the lower side. Now the charging speed for the Huion tablet with the included 60-watt charger is fast. It's not as fast compared to the 45-watt supercharge you can get with the Samsung tablet, but it's fast enough. So to conclude, as mentioned right at the start of the video, I recommend you choose based on the software you want to use. If you want a device that is all-in-one, obviously Windows OS is going to be more versatile. If you want something that is compact and portable, easy to bring around, the Samsung tablet definitely has the advantage. In terms of drawing performance, I would say these two are equally matched, just that you will have more customization with the pen performance with the Huion tablet, because there is the driver that you can use to tweak the pressure response. If you have to do graphic design work, obviously go with Windows, because you get all those graphic design apps such as Photoshop, Illustrator, Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer with Windows. Alright, if you guys are interested to buy either tablets, consider using the affiliate links that I have for you in the video description below to help support my YouTube channel and the work that I do here. I hope this video is helpful. See you guys in the next video. Bye!